Hello everyone, welcome back. So this time what we want to do is actually build our own custom sprite, okay? Now we're going to kind of fly through this, but what I want to do is point out that there is a tutorial provided by Unity called Live Training 2D Character Controllers, and that is going to break down how to set up your own sprite and animate it completely, okay, including how to type out all the code, okay, which we actually already have the scripts put together for us. But if you're interested in how to do this in much greater detail, please watch the videos provided by Unity, and we will put those links to those videos below this video on our website as well. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and start making our own custom sprite. All right, so what I've done so far is I've opened up Unity, I created a new project, and I'm going to go ahead and save my first scene right now. Okay, and let's just call it Scene 1, okay, and we're going to put it into a folder, and we're going to call that folder Scenes, okay, just like that. And notice it got created down here, okay. Speaking of creating folders, I'm going to go ahead and right-click in here and go to Create Folder. Okay, and we're going to call this one Sprites, okay, and we're going to do that one more time, and we're going to call this folder Scripts, okay. All right, so I just know we're going to need these. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Sprites folder right now, and it is empty. Okay, now I do have some sprites over here. And just for demo purposes, I have this really simple little ground right here. I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop that into my sprites folder in Unity. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select it. Make sure that it's set to sprite as a texture type. It might not be. It might be set to texture. Make sure it's set to sprite. In this particular case, single is just fine. Okay, and yeah, I think that's all we need. Okay, all these sprites actually, my 100% maximum size on all of my sprites, I made it at 2048 just to stay consistent. So I'm going to go ahead and change that there. It's just going to depend on what size you made your sprites. And I'm going to go ahead and just hit apply. Okay. Okay, there we go. Looking good. Let's see, it's at compressed right now. I'm going to just change this to 16-bit colors. Okay. And you notice that you can also have true color as well. But for these purposes, 16 is going to be just fine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drag this and drop it into the scene. Okay, and there we have some ground. I'm going to go ahead and stretch it out along the x-axis a little bit, just so it's a little bit longer. Okay, and let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and put a physics 2D box collider on it. Okay, just like that. All right, I'm actually going to hit Command C and then Command V, do copy paste. Okay, of course you can come up here, copy paste. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just move that over here so that we have a couple of little platforms for our sprite character to jump on. All right, easy enough. Now I'm gonna go ahead and hit save again. Let's see here. What I want to do now is I want to actually create an empty game object that we can actually use to add our character to. So I'm going to come over here to game object, create empty. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to come over to the empty game object here, and I'm going to call it character. All right, just like that. Now I'm going to come over here now to add components, and we're going to add a few components to our empty game object, which will later be applied to our sprite. Okay, so I'm going to add a sprite renderer. So rendering. Okay, sprite renderer. There you are, sprite renderer. Okay, I'm going to add another component, and we're going to add a physics 2D rigid body 2D. Okay, we are going to check fixed angle. If you don't check fixed angle, your character is just going to roll like a ball. Okay, fixed angle. All right, we're going to set interpolate to interpolate. Okay, good enough. And that's actually that. So what we have now is an empty game object that is ready for us to add our first sprite to. All right. And yeah, okay, this is actually not going to be that hard. Okay, there's a lot of steps to setting up your own custom sprites, but there's a huge reward in the fact that instead of just downloading the sample assets pack and using the robot that comes with it, or whatever, you can actually create your own. Now, when I say create your own, you can either completely create your own from scratch, as in draw it out in Photoshop or Illustrator, whatever you use, and actually make an animate sprite. Or you can, just do a Google search for free sprite sheets, and there are thousands of them. Okay, a lot of classic characters too, so you can totally get, oh, Mario and Luigi or Sonic the Hedgehog or whatever, Link from Zelda, and start with those sprite sheets if you want to, or you can draw your own out. There's tons out there. And anyway, let me go ahead and show you what I've got. So I've got these 3 PNGs right here, okay? And they are actually just drawings that I busted out very quickly in Illustrator of my dog, Juno, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at these now. We'll use the jumping one, all right? So I'm going to just open this up in preview. Okay, and as you can see, I've just got some different frames right here of my dog Juno, and she's jumping, okay? And now if you make your own sprite sheets, of course you can download a sprite sheet online for free. There's thousands of them. But if you make your own, what you want to do is when you set this up in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever you use, make sure that your sprite is standing on an even line, okay? You don't want them at all like out of line with each other, okay? Set it up on a grid and make sure that each sprite is in a grid, in a box, in the exact same spot, okay? So in this case, obviously, the dog gets taller as it stands up. So we got some space up here, but you want that bottom line absolutely in the same spot. And I actually, in the grid, I picked out this little hair sticking out on her back, and I made sure that that was lined up inside the grid perfectly well. Okay, all you need to do is download any sprite sheet online that's made for animating like this, and just take a look at how it's lined up in a grid. Okay, they all have to be like that. You'll quickly see what I mean if you start to slice up sprites that are kind of out of line with each other. Okay, so anyway, so again, I'm just choosing to make my own instead of downloading one. Their Unity Asset Store has tons that are available. I'm going to go ahead and select all of these, and I'm going to drag them into my scene here. Okay, there we go. Now, let's see here. The first thing that I want to do is select the Juno idle, okay, and I want to make sure that it's set to sprite. And I'm going to change the sprite mode to multiple. And I'm going to set mine to 2048 because that's actually the size of this sheet right here. Let's see what else. Compressed, we'll just go ahead and set it to true color for now because we can get away with it. And, you can actually compress the color. 16-bit would be just fine for this as well. But that's what we're going to go with. And I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And I'm going to actually do that to the other ones as well. So multiple. Okay. Yep. And we're going to do the last one. Okay, notice that I can open this up, but not these two. That's because this one is set to single, and so it's saying this is the single sprite. But we're going to actually change that to multiple. And here we go. And here we go. Okay, great. So that was easy. So now what I want to do is open this up inside of the sprite editor. So I've got Juno idle selected, and that is my standing dog animation. And I'm going to hit sprite editor. Okay, so here we go. And I'm going to come over here to slice and keep this at grid. Yeah, okay, there's a chance that it'll be at automatic, okay, but I'm going to change it to grid. Automatic we use when you just have a whole bunch of different individual single sprites on here, like we'll use it later when I have some dirt platforms and some plants and some rocks and things. But for an animation like this, you want grid. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and just hit, this is at 500 by 335, and we'll hit slice. Okay, and that's actually really close right there. Of course, I kind of knew that number ahead of time, but let's look here. Okay, it's a little bit off right there. You really want them absolutely in line with each other. But that looks pretty good. You don't want anything sticking out the bottom or whatever. And let's see. Her head is actually not matched up, if you notice where it's at right here. And that's on purpose. And right here, how this one's a little closer, because there's going to just be a little bit of head movement on this dog. Okay? So anyway, that should do it right there. I think that looks pretty good. So what I want to do now is hit apply. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and close my sprite editor. Now look how this has changed. If I come down here to the Juno animation and I click on that, see that? Those frames are actually represented, and some blank frames there too, which I could have got rid of. But okay, so these are the 4 frames right here. It's going to be a really quick animation of just those 4 frames cycling through of Juno standing there. Okay, easy enough. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually grab the first frame here. Okay, I'm going to make sure character is selected. I'm going to grab the first frame here, and I'm going to drag it to right here, sprite, in the sprite renderer. Okay, so there. So now we have our Juno. Okay, now if I hit play, she's going to fall. Okay, now we have gravity on her, right? The rigid body 2D here, right here, has some gravity. Okay, and let's see, we have box colliders on our ground, but we do not have any colliders on Juno. So that's the next thing that we need to do, is actually add some colliders to Juno. So I'm going to come over here to add component, physics 2D, just like before, but we're going to do circle collider this time. Okay, now I'm going to bring the radius down, and I'm going to go ahead and, move it over. Let's see, up on the Y, across on the X here. Okay, and just kind of position that on Juno's head. Okay, that way when her head bangs into stuff, which actually her head bangs into stuff in real life all the time too. But when her head bangs into something, this circle collider is going to stop it. Okay, now we need to put a couple more on here. I'm going to do physics 2D again. Okay, circle collider again. Now we use circle colliders for feet. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the radius down. And, if you have a character that's walking on 2 legs, you are going to want to put a circle collider right down on the feet, just like that. You don't want it hanging down like this, okay, because this is what it's going to look like she's floating. You want it kind of right like that, all right? And I'm going to go ahead and do another one, okay? Circle collider. Whoops, wrong one. Bring the radius down, like so. Let's see here. Bring it down about there and move it over. Okay, there we go. And we'll adjust it if we need to. Nothing set in stone. All right. Okay, and then let's go ahead and just put a box collider around her body. All right. And let's see, box collider. Let's see, we'll go ahead and bring it down a bit, like so. That's probably about the right shape. And we'll move it over like that. Maybe like so. Okay, and that'll actually work just fine. I could actually see myself wanting to make it a little wider. Something like that. Whatever. That's going to work just fine. Okay, so just like that, let's go ahead and see how we did. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Okay, and there we go. Now Juno is standing. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so we got the circle colliders down here. Okay, if anything hits her body or lands on her, there's a box collider right here. And when she bonks her head on stuff, there's a collider around her head. Okay, so so far so good. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to actually create the idle animation, because right now we just have the idle. Okay, that's no good. So or just the first frame of idle. Sorry. And so what I want to do is come over here to add component, and we're going to go to miscellaneous animator. Okay, we're going to add this animator. We're going to uncheck apply root motion, and we're going to check animate physics. Okay, and let's see, I'm going to go ahead and save this real quick right now. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to select my assets folder right here, and I'm going to right click. Okay, and I'm going to go to create, and I'm going to select animator controller. Okay, and we're going to call this Juno controller. Okay, just like that, Juno controller. And I'm going to make sure my character is selected. I'm going to grab, let's scroll down, grab Juno controller, and move Juno controller over to the animator component controller and drop it in just like that. Okay, there we go. Now, okay, so now what we need to do is actually open up the animator window. So I'm going to go ahead and go to window right here, animator. Okay, so there's our animator, all right? And that's exactly what we wanted. Right now we just have this any state, okay? But that's okay. I want this down here, because what I want to do now is actually open up the animation window, okay? We need both of them, the animator and the animation window, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and just keep mine up here. Notice it's not docked right now. I think I'm going to go ahead and drag and dock that, just like that. So now I have my scene view, my game view, and my animation view, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my character. Okay, and now that I've selected my character, I'm going to go ahead and create an animation. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and it's weird, it's kind of hard to see, but above the add curve in the animation window, there's this little tab right here, okay? And you can drop that down and then create a new clip, okay? And inside the assets folder, I'm going to create a new folder called animations, okay? Animations. And then we're going to go ahead and call this idle, okay? Just like that. And we're going to save that like so. Okay, and notice this thing popped up right here, and this is actually our default state. We know it's our default state because it is orange. Okay, now I'm going to select character again. What we want to do now is actually move back over the project, select my sprites, and grab, I'm going to hold down shift and select these 4 frames of my Juno, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and drag them up into the timeline right here and then just drop them in, okay? Now, see how it says sample frame 60 a second? We're going to drop that down to, let's try 6 for now, okay? That should work for now. I think we're going to make some adjustments to this for sure. However, for now, I think we're going to be okay like this. I'm going to go ahead and save right now, of course. Okay, and that's all we needed to do for that part. So let's go ahead and give this a try. So I'm going to go ahead and press play. Okay, and there's our Juno, and she's kind of moving like so, and I don't want her to be blinking quite this many times, okay? So what I'm going to do is actually go back here, and I'm going to, let's see here, copy right here, the last one, just hit copy, and then paste it a couple more times. That way she's kind of standing still, and then she'll just kind of like, move her head and her tail, and she'll blink a little bit. Just like that. Let's try that. Press play. She moves a little bit. Okay, that's all I want. Just a little tiny bit of movement as she's standing still. Just waiting for me to send her on her adventure. Okay, so we have an idle Juno. So what we want to do now is we want to go to the walk here, okay? And let's go ahead and slice that one up and create a walk animation as well, okay? So it's set to multiple. We already did that. 248, true color for now. That works just fine for me. Juno walk. Let's go ahead and open up the sprite editor. Okay, and let's see. So we've got a walking Juno. And again, a lot of nicer sprite sheets that you'll download. You'll see like 30 animations for walk, and they'll look realistic. This one's going to be very blocky. As you can see from my quick Juno sketch here too, I'm just busting this out for demo purposes. But, if you make your own sprites, be aware that the more subtle movements you have, the more realistic it's going to look. And as you download sprites sheets from online, or if you take a look at the robot sprite sheet that comes with the sample asset pack for Unity 2D, the walk animation itself or the run animation seems to have like 20 sprites instances. Anyway, so same thing again, grid. I can't remember, so we'll go ahead and just try 500 by 333 for now, and we'll hit slice. Boy, that's pretty close, isn't it? So let's go ahead and zoom in here. Take a look. Yeah, this one here actually, I think it could be a little bit more. We don't even want our toes sticking out at all. So let's go ahead and set that to 335 and slice. Okay, we're looking good. Let's go with that. Okay, and yep. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit apply. Easy enough. Okay, there we go. There's our walking Junos, just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this again, and I think we're ready to move on to the next part. Okay, so now we're gonna set up the walking Juno animation. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that character's selected. I'm gonna come over here and do a new clip, and we're gonna go ahead and just call this one walk animation. Make sure we save that in the animations folder right here. Okay. And let's see, I'm going to take these 4 frames of Juno, and I'm going to go ahead and just move them up here, drop them in the timeline again. I'm going to go ahead and change this to 6. Yeah, we'll see. I might change that later. We can always adjust everything. We'll just keep it like that for now. So let's go ahead and look at the animator here. So we have the walk, okay, and we have our idle. Okay, and of course we have any state, right? So let's go ahead and press play. Okay, so we have our idle animation, and then you can see Juno's blinking a little bit, and then idle is running like it is. Okay, so what we want to do is actually create a transition between these two. Okay, so that's actually really easy. So what I want to do is create a parameter. So I'm going to come down here to parameters and float, okay? And you might recall floats from when we were working with processing. Anyway, so float. So we're going to go ahead and just type in speed, okay? And that's that, speed. Okay, now I'm going to select idle. I'm going to right click, select make transition, and then move over to walk and click. See that arrow that was just created? Okay, now I'm going to select the arrow, okay? I'm going to come over here and change this to speed. That's the parameter we just created, okay? And we're going to set speed so that we move from idle to walk when speed is greater than 0.1, just like that. Okay, now we're going to select walk. We're going to do make transition again and then go back to idle. Okay, we're going to select that arrow and we're going to set that for when speed is less than 0.01. Okay, and did I do that for the other one too? 0.01, yes, 0.01. Okay, so just one more time here. So from idle to walk when speed is greater than 0.1, from walk to idle when speed is less than 0.1. Okay, and this will all make sense here in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Okay, so now if we press play, it's not going to do anything yet. Still just going to be an idle Juno, okay? Because we have to create, well, we got to throw some code in here now, okay? So that's what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and create some code. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go to my scripts. I'm going to right-click, create C# script. Okay, and we're going to call this, Juno controller, okay? Easy enough. Juno controller. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and double click on this. And that's going to open it up in Mono Develop. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I actually have, let's see. This one. I have the code right here, and I will actually make the code available for download. And there'll be several scripts available for download, so you don't actually have to type this part out. However, I am going to paste this in and suggest go ahead and pausing for a minute and just typing it out. You can actually grab the script as well, but the best way is to start, the best way to learn is to actually start going through this stuff. But anyway, there you go. You can also just download the script and cut and paste it in. And of course, we're going to be adding a lot to this script. But for now, let's go ahead and just save this script, close. Okay, close this. All right, now if we press play, nothing's going to happen. And the reason, there we go. And the reason why is because we have not actually linked this controller up yet. So let's go ahead and stop this. Okay, now I'm going to actually select my script, and I'm just going to move it over here to my character and drop it. Okay, and then select character. If we go down here, you can see that we have added this script, okay? And, oh yeah, I actually deleted that script earlier. Just ignore that. Okay, there we go. And so we have our Juno controller as our script, okay? So let's go ahead and hit play. Okay, so there we go. And let's try the arrow key. And we can actually move Juno around. And of course, it's still in the idle state, okay? And if I press spacebar, she can't jump yet. And it's still, everything she's doing is still in that idle state, okay? There's no walk animation yet. So that's the next thing that we're going to want to set up. So let's do that next. Okay, so now let's add the code to actually access the walk animation that we've already prepared, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go back into Mono Develop. Now again, I'm going to just cut and paste the code, and I will make these codes available for you. In the little bit of time we have, I think this is the best way to go, and it's the way to make this video the shortest. If you want to have a line-by-line breakdown of all of the code that we are using, please go to the live training 2D character controllers tutorial that is provided by Unity, and the links for that will be below this video on our website. Okay, so anyway, what I'm going to do is adding the walk before the jumping, and I will make all these available so you can just cut and paste as well, but I'm going to update our script here, okay, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to hit save. All right, just like that, nice and easy. Okay, so let's go back to our Juno game, and let's go ahead and press play. Okay, and there's Juno, and as we walk, There's the walking animation. See that? Her little feet are moving, her tail, her head's kind of bobbing. Okay, yes. There's Juno. All right, so now we have, of course, we can't jump yet, right? We go here and we just run right into it. Okay, and speaking of, what's happening here is we have the box collider around this ground, and we have a box collider right around here. So right on her chest, there's a box, and then right on her head, there's a box, and so as she walks, she runs into it. Okay, and if she falls off the edge, off she goes. Okay, so, yeah, so far so good. I mean, honestly, just that little bit of time right there and just a couple of cut and paste of some scripts there. And the next thing you know, we got a little walking animation. It's got two animations, right? Idle state and walking state. All right. So obviously the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make our character jump. Okay. And so what I need to do now is add some more code to this. Okay. And so I actually have the code again, all ready to go right here. All right, and again, that will be available for everyone to just cut and paste in there. So I'm going to go ahead and select all and update the code, okay? All right, and once again, I know I keep saying this, but if you want a line-by-line breakdown of what this code does, please watch the Unity tutorial video called 2D Character Controllers. Okay, let's go ahead and just move Mono Develop out of the way. Okay, so we've got our code, but there's still a number of things that we need to do. So let's create a ground check now. So what we need to do is we're going to create empty game object. Okay, and we're going to actually call this ground check. Okay. Okay, so now that we've created ground check, what we're going to do is actually move ground check onto the character. Okay, now you can see that we've actually nested that to the character. Okay, so that's our ground check. All right, so now what we want to do is that when we have ground check selected here, ground check selected, we're going to come over here to this little box and we are going to select an icon color. I'm just going to select this color here. So now we actually have a little icon right here for ground check. All right, easy enough. Okay, so now what I want to do is actually take ground check and move it to the position where I want the ground to be. So I'm going to move this over, or move it down, I mean, and then move it over along the X to, you know, where her feet are going to be. So I think it could be a little bit higher than that. I mean, of course, we'll adjust this as we go. Maybe like right there for now. That's fine for now. Okay, and then, yeah, good enough. Okay. So that's going to tell us when Juno is actually standing on the ground, okay? All right, so there's a few more things to do here. So we've added this here, but now what we actually want to do is I'm going to click on character again. Okay, and let's go over here to our script. Now that we've added some more code, see how we have some, let's see, right here, ground check, okay? So we're going to actually grab ground check and move it to ground check. Okay? Sound good? Let's go ahead and I'm going to save again, okay? Always save. All right, so now we've done that. Now I want to set the layer of this player to be player, okay? And if I come over here to layer, again, I have character selected. I come over here. I don't have that option yet, so I need to click on add layer. I'm going to come down here to layer 8 and just type in player, okay? Just like that, easy enough. So come back over here by clicking on character, come over here and then select player, okay? And yes, change children, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and hit save again. All right, we're doing good. Let's keep moving along. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll down here again. Now, see where it says what is ground? Right now it says nothing is ground. Okay, we can actually check that everything is ground, okay, which is great, but there's one problem. It's going to actually select the player too, so let's uncheck the player, okay? That way Juno doesn't think that Juno is ground, okay? So everything else in here will be considered ground, will be things that Juno can stand on and jump off of. Okay, I'm going to hop back over to my animator and I'm going to create another parameter, okay? This time we're going to go ahead and create a bool, okay, a boolean, all right? And we're going to call this ground, okay? All right, just like that. Okay, so now we're going to do something, well, that we've already repeated a couple of times throughout this video. Is I'm going to come back to Sprites, and I'm going to deal with the Juno jump animation. Okay, so let's look over here. Yep, I think everything's set just fine. We just need to open this up in the sprite editor. Okay, and there's our jumping Junos. And, whoops, sprite editor. There we go. So I'm going to go to slice, grid. Okay. And, let's just start to figure out what size we should make this. So I'll make this 500 by 700 and see how that works. Okay, way too high there. So looks like we need to set this to maybe be 530 by, we'll say 575 to start. Okay, pretty close. What I'm going to do now is just kind of mess around with this a little bit until I get the sweet numbers going here, and then I will skip ahead in the video so that you don't have to watch me continually figure this out. Okay, I'm going to call 510 by 515 good to start with here. Let's see. As long as it's not sticking out, then I think we're okay. A little bit off right here, but you know what? She's going to be lifting off the ground anyway, and it's only going to be an in-air animation, so I think we're good with that. So I'm going to go ahead and slice that again, and then hit apply. Okay, and we'll close that. And now we can see that I'm going to shut this one and shut this one, and we can see that Juno Jumps now has some frames here for jumping Junos. And it looks like we have 7 of them. Okay, so far so good. So now I'm going to move back over to the animation window. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that my character is selected. And I'm going to create 7 new animations, all right? Instead of creating 1 jump animation, we're going to create 7 of them, okay? And we're going to have 1 frame in each one, okay? And the reason why we're setting it up this way is that this way it's not just going to be a jump state, it's going to be a anytime Juno is not on the ground state, okay? So Juno's going to kind of take this position when she's falling off of stuff as well, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and create new clip. And we're going to call this one jump 1 and move this to the animation folder. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead, and it's not going to matter how many frames per second or samples per second because it's just 1 each time. So I'm going to go ahead and create 7 of these. And maybe I'll jump ahead so you all don't have to watch me do this. Okay, so I'm back, and if I jump into the animations folder here, you can see that I have 7 new animations, right? Jump 1 through 7, all right? So far, so good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is actually come back here and select jump 1, okay? And then let's see here, what are we going to do? We're going to go to our sprites, and I'm going to grab the first frame of Juno jumping and move it to the jump 1. Okay, and I'm going to do the second one for jump 2, and so on. Okay, there we go. So now, we have 7 of these, each with 1 frame. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a function that cycles through all these. When we hit spacebar, it's going to cycle through all 7 of these. And the same thing's going to happen when Juno, walks off of something. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save there, of course. Okay, so now this part's pretty interesting. So what I'm going to do now is come down here and click on the animator, okay? And now look at all these states that it created. Now make sure you don't delete walk, okay? But you don't actually need these. It's just they're created by default, okay? Because every time you create an animation, you get an instance of that state in the animator, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and delete, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and delete those by hitting, oh, by the way, you have to delete by hitting command delete, not just delete, all right? Okay, so anyway, there we go. Now what we're going to do is actually create what's called a blend tree. Okay, so I'm going to come down here and actually create another float, okay? And we're going to call this one V-speed. Okay, now for vertical speed. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and save again. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just anywhere in here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and just right-click and create state, and we're going to create a new blend tree, okay? And I'm going to click on that blend tree, and I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to change the name of it. And we'll change it to jump fall. Okay, why not? It's the same name that they used in the Unity training. So that's the one we're going to use. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is actually going to create some transitions here. On any state here, I'm going to make a transition to jump fall. Okay, And from jump fall, I'm going to go ahead and select my arrow again. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select when ground is false. Okay, so from any state, if ground is false, go to the jump fall animation. Okay? All right. Now we're going to do that same thing again. I'm going to do from jumps fall, make transition, and go to idle. Okay, and then select the arrow. And of course, we're in the jump fall animation, and whenever ground is true, take us back to the idle state. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and save that again. All right. Now this part is it's pretty interesting. What we're gonna do is we're gonna double click on our blend tree. Okay, and first thing that we're gonna do is set this to vertical speed. Set the speed right now. We're gonna set it to vertical speed, that V speed float parameter that we set up down here. Okay, and now we're gonna actually come over here and hit this plus symbol and add a motion field. Okay, and I'm going to do this for my animation 7 times because I have 7 different frames of my jumping Juno. So I need 3. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to come over to project and to animations. All right, and I'm going to drag these over to here, one at a time, okay? So jump 1, jump 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, I'm going to click right here. I'm going to set this to -13. And we'll set this to 5. All right. Okay. Okay. Now, I think that should do it. We're going to have some physics adjustments that we're going to need to make. That's for sure. But for now, let's go ahead and just give this a try and see if Juno at least switches animations when I hit spacebar. Okay. So we're standing still, and her tail wiggles a little, and she blinks. Left and right arrows. That's the walking animation. And let's try the jumping animation. And there you go, and she's jumping. That's great, okay? Now, one of the things I need to adjust right now is the gravity is just ridiculous, right? It's like she's on the moon. She just like jumps, okay? So let me talk about this for a second. So when I come over here to the animator, okay? Whoops, I'm gonna hit base, I'm in blend tree, I'm gonna hit base layer. Okay, remember this is our blend tree. We're in idle. See how idle's running? And Juno's just kind of blinking. If I start to hit the left, whoops, select her, the left and right arrow keys, see how walk starts playing? Okay, now if I jump, see how jump starts playing? You see how it's doing it in that kind of crazy way where it's like stuttering? Okay, I'm going to come back over to, I'm going to click on this. Now, click on her. See when I jump, you can actually see it cycling through all of those, okay? Hopefully you guys can see that on the video there. If I jump, it cycles through all of them, okay? So that's what's happening. I'm going to click back over here. Now, here's the thing, and here's why we set it up this way. When she jumps, she changes to that state, right? Okay, now, notice when she falls, she changes to that state as well. It's kind of a cool 2 birds with 1 stone kind of thing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop that now. So at this point, we actually have a working animation. Let's go ahead and go back to scene. Whoops. There we go. So we have our Juno with her box and circle colliders. We have her the ground check underneath letting us know when to switch to the jump fall state when there's no ground, right? Okay, and of course we have box colliders around our different sprites right here, and then we have several different animations right here. We have the idle animation, the jump fall animation, and the walk animation all being triggered right here with our arrow keys and spacebar. So at this point, as you can probably imagine, I'm going to press play again. We can start to build up all kinds of objects in here and just create, at the very least, an obstacle course. Maybe it's the simplest video game there is next to Pong. Well, honestly, in Pong, at least, there's a way to lose. You know, at this point, you can't even really lose. If you just jump off of here, Juno just falls for infinity. All right? And so there's a lot more that we need to do to this game, okay? But one thing I want to do right now is I want to change that gravity, okay? So let's go ahead and change that now. Okay, so let's see here. Edit, project settings, physics 2D. Okay, see right here the gravity. Let's set this to -30, and that was actually a number that was also suggested by the Unity training. Okay, and I've been sticking with it. That's just fine. So let's go ahead and press play. Okay, so much better, right? Much better. And the code is actually set up to do double jumps as well, so I can jump and then jump. Okay, which I like. Okay. All right. So there we go. Jumping Juno. All right. So, well, I think that's actually it for this tutorial right here. What we have is an animated sprite that can move and can jump, and each one of those states has a different animation setup that goes with it. All right, so of course in the next videos what we're going to be doing is working out lots of little glitches with the way that Juno's going to be colliding with things. We're going to set up a camera that will follow her around as she moves. We're going to set up some sprite generators and sprite destroyers. Okay, that way that as the platformer game starts scrolling sideways, we can generate new platforms to stand on, and then so they just don't keep building up forever, we'll be destroying them as they move out of sight at the same time. Okay, and then later we can use that same destroyer to, create bombs or things that fall and actually break up the floor. And we can actually put a destroyer down below that will destroy Juno if Juno falls. Okay, and then eventually we can link that to like a game over section or something like that or scene. Okay, so anyway, this is a very basic Unity tutorial. I know there was a lot there, but if you can get this far, you have really done the hard part with Unity. Because really, after this, we're just creating fun obstacles and thinking of different ways to, build it up, different situations to put Juno into, and then lots of different ways to, destroy Juno. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.